Welcome to the Old Principal English instructional programs. We have more than 300 of these half-hour programs where we look at stories, always a new story, an interesting story, some of my own stories, some about me. In fact, you will get to know a little bit about me today. This will be lesson number, what? 267. Lesson 267, Night Watchman. Night Watchman, 这个守夜的人, and that was me. I was a night watchman. But before we go into the story, let's listen as my wife reads the story first.
Story 267, Night Watchman. During the last half of my sophomore year, every day I worked at the cafeteria at each mealtime. I also worked 2 nights a week as a night watchman. My work hours totaled 30 hours a week, while at the same time I was a full-time student. Every spare minute was used for studying. My night watchman shift was from midnight to 6 a.m. Obviously, that was the least desirable of the 2 shifts. The 6 p.m. to midnight shift would have been easy. Because I always had too much to do during the evenings, it was next to impossible for me to get much sleep. At most, I slept 2 to 3 hours. Despite being short on sleep, walking around the campus and exercising in the cool evening air did keep me awake. It was my habit throughout the night to travel different routes. I didn't want to settle on a routine that could be observed by some bad guy lurking in the shadows. Why? Well, if he knew my regular routine, he could easily plan to do his evil deeds while I was at some other point on the campus. By about 4:30 a.m., my stomach always began to growl. Happily, one of my friends worked early mornings in the bakery. So at that early hour, I knocked on the bakery door and asked him to sell me some day-old cookies. He sold them cheaply, and I relished the infusion of sugar to give me more energy. From time to time during my 6-hour shift, I stopped to write a love letter to my girlfriend. During my last round, just before I went off duty, I attached my letter to her dormitory room window. When she woke up, the first thing she looked for was the letter from her night watchman boyfriend. You might be interested to know that, as busy as I was, I got my best grades during that time.
Welcome back. Are you ready to go? During the last half of my sophomore year, remember when you go to college, your first year in college is freshman, second year in college, sophomore, third year in college, junior, and fourth year is senior. So freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. That's the 4 years of college. Well, this was my sophomore year in college. And I worked at several different places. Every day I worked at the cafeteria. Okay, I was at the cafeteria. And also 2 nights I worked as a night watchman. 守夜的人. Okay, so I am the night watchman. Going on. My work hours totaled 30 hours a week. That means all of my work. all of my work. I worked in the cafeteria, 在这个食堂, and I worked as a night watchman. So you tally them up, you add them up, 加起来, you come up with 30 hours. I worked 30 hours a week. And you will notice here it says at the same time I was a full-time student. 全职的学生. I was not part-time, I was full-time. Always took a full load of classes. Going on. Every spare minute was used for studying, obviously. So I was studying and many strange and wonderful times. If I had 1分钟, I used it for studying. Okay? Going on. My night watchman shift was from midnight to 6 a.m. So twice a week, 2 nights, I was a night watchman from midnight, 半夜, to 6 a.m. 早上这个6点钟. So this is my shift. Shift 换班, okay? Going on. Obviously, this was the least desirable of the 2 shifts. I mean, let's face the fact. When it says it was the least desirable, it simply means that 人们最不喜欢的或最满意、最不喜欢的这个班呢是 from midnight to 6 o'clock in the morning. Least desirable of the 2 shifts. Okay, there are 2 shifts, from 6 at night to midnight, and from midnight to very early in the morning, i.e. 6 o'clock in the morning. 6 to 12, 12 to 6, 12 hours. You have the midnight shift would have been easy if I just go from 6 to midnight. No problem. People are still awake, you're still awake, everything. Much harder to do the early morning shift going on. Because I always had too much to do during the evenings, it was next to impossible for me to get much sleep. At most, I slept 2 to 3 hours, if I was lucky. And if I didn't go on a date with my girlfriend, I got 2 to 3 hours. I was very busy during this time. So sometimes I studied, 有时候我跟女朋友约会. Whatever the case is, Saturday night especially, then there's just no time to rest. So at the most, I got 2 to 3 hours. Saturday night, even less than 3 hours. 2 hours, less than 2 hours, about 1.5 hours going on. Despite being short on sleep, okay, 尽管呢我缺少 short on sleep, 缺少睡眠, okay, despite being short on sleep, 尽管我缺少睡眠, walking around the campus, 在校园 campus, walking around the campus, okay, and exercising. Obviously, I'm exercising because I'm walking and I'm doing this. In the cool evening air, 这个晚上的凉爽的空气, okay, it's cool, it's nice, it's comfortable, I'm exercising, did keep me awake, 使我的头脑很清醒啊。It kept me alert, 清醒 and awake, 不想睡觉. So, this is night watching. Despite being short on sleep and walking around the campus and exercising in the cool evening air, it did keep me awake. Going on, I was in the habit throughout the night to travel different routes. Okay? Now, my habit was, actually my boss told me to do this. 我老板就跟我是这样说的. Now remember, I'm a student, but I'm a student who is working. He said, throughout the night, 整个晚上你要换这个路线. You need to walk different routes. Okay? So a different route means that it's a 路线. Okay? I didn't want to settle into a routine that could be observed by some bad guy lurking in the shadows. Why? Well, first of all, let's look at this. I didn't want to settle into, okay, what does it mean to settle into a routine? That means to have a 固定的这个路线, a routine, every day, every hour, always the same. So sometimes I went around this way, sometimes I went around this way, sometimes I went this way and this way, always different. Okay? I didn't want to settle into a routine that could be observed, 被谁观察的吗? Observed by some bad guy, 坏人, okay? Who was lurking in the shadows. What does it mean to be lurking in the shadows? 阴影, okay, the shadows, the darker places. At night, of course, there's not much light, but the shadows would be the darkest places. Okay? And what does it mean that the bad guys are lurking in the shadows? Lurking means 隐藏在某一个地方啊. Okay? Lurking in the shadows. You can't see them, but they can see you. This is the story of my life. This is what happened when I was night watching. I never did really have any serious problems. A few nights, 有一点点紧张, but we just didn't want to have too many of those bad experiences. If the bad guy knew my regular routine, okay, if he knew 我固定的路线, okay, my routine, and if he knew where it was, he could easily plan his evil deeds, 可以计划做他的恶行啊, okay, 在我不在的时候. So if I was running on the other side, well, I said walking on the other side of the campus, he would be over here doing the bad things. Yeah. I remember one time I came and somebody was working on a car at 2 o'clock in the morning. 肯定是偷东西啊. So I walked over there and suddenly he just kind of walked away. I said, aha, he's not a good guy. Okay? So if I am on a different point on the campus, 在校园另外一个地方, he chooses to be opposite side, 刚好对面. Okay? About 4:30 in the morning, my stomach began to growl. 我的肚子就开始叫. Okay, my stomach was growling. This is the way we say it in English. My stomach always began to growl at 4:30 p.m. Well, remember, I have worked all night. I'm walking all night. Walk. I'm walking. Okay. Fortunately, happily, 幸亏啊, one of my friends worked early mornings in the bakery. 我的一个朋友，他名叫 Bill. Bill worked in the bakery. So 他在面包店开始做面包. So he was there working. He was making bread in the bakery. So at 4:30 in the morning, I went to see him. In fact, going on. So at that early hour, I knocked on the bakery door, 叩这个面包店的这个门, and I asked him to sell me some day-old cookies. I'm not sure if you know what a day-old cookie is. A day-old cookie is yesterday's cookie. Yesterday they made it. Yesterday it was fresh. But overnight, 过了一个晚上, the second day it is not so fresh. 没有那么新鲜. Still good, but not quite so fresh. So many bakeries, they sell this as day-old bread or cookies or something. Okay? But it was still good, and they sell it for cheap. 这个价钱比较便宜. So that was good. He sell me these day-old cookies. Going on. He sold them to me cheaply, and I relished the infusion of sugar to give me more energy. Let me explain that. He sold them to me cheaply, so it didn't cost me so much money, but it says I relished. What does the word relished mean? 我很喜欢, 我享受. To enjoy is the same as to relish. Relish, 享受, okay? Enjoy. The infusion. What does infusion? Infusion is to go into something. Well, take a look at it. Let's look at it. Infuse. Infuse is to go inside of something. So infusion, something is going inside of me. Obviously, what's going inside of me? Food is going inside of me. But it's not just food. It's the infusion of tongue, sugar, tongue. And why was that? Well, I had worked all night. And because I was working all night, I was getting tireder and tireder, and there was no place to eat. And so by 4:30 in the morning, 我有一点无力. I was not so energetic. And so I needed some sugar to 把我的血糖提高. So my blood sugar needed to come up a bit, and boy, those cookies, they were so good. I'm glad I didn't have very much money because I would have bought a lot of them. I only bought a little. And this sugar gave me energy going on. From time to time, during my 6-hour shift, I stopped to write a love letter to my girlfriend. From time to time, during my 6-hour shift. Okay, 我那班是6个小时的 okay, and from time to time, 有时候 I stopped to write a love letter to my girlfriend, 写一个情书给我的女朋友 because she was a student in the same school. So I would stop and write this letter to her. Of course, I had a lot of time in the night to think about what to write. I suppose I could have studied some. I could have used taken my schoolwork and studied, but somehow I wasn't interested in studying. But writing a letter to my girlfriend, now that was very, very important, and I enjoyed writing those letters. Okay, during my last round, that means the last time I went around, 最后一圈呢, a 圈 was be around, to go around. The last time around, I always went by the girls' dormitory. Okay, just before I went off duty. So this is just before 6 o'clock. See, I went off duty. 我下班是6点钟. So this is just before 6 o'clock. I attached my letter to her dormitory room window. Fortunately, this is the good news, she lived on the ground floor. So I would take my letter and I would 贴在她的窗户. So I went there and I put my love letter on her window. Okay. In the morning when she woke up, of course, she would see the letter there and she would take it. Okay. When she woke up, the first thing she looked for was the letter from her night watchman boyfriend. Okay. In the morning, she got out of bed, and the first thing she would do, this is Saturday night. I also did another night, I think Wednesday night. She would wake up and she would go over to the window and she would reach out the window and take the letter off, and she would read my letter to her in the early morning. She woke up in the first thing she looked for, 第一件事情，她是去找 the letter from her night watchman boyfriend, 守夜的男朋友. Going on. You might be interested to know that as busy as I was, now remember, let's review again. I am a 全职的学生, but there's another way of saying it. I did part-time work, 半工, 我的半工. But for that year, especially for that half a year, I was working 30 hours a week. Now the question is, if you are a full-time student and you're working 30 hours a week, okay, will that affect 会不会影响 your school work or your grades 你的成绩啊 Well, you might be interested to know that as busy as I was, I got my very best grades during that half a year. Incredible. The only way I can explain it, and of course, many other people have had a similar experience, and that is when you work and you study, you use your time more efficiently. 比较善用你的时间 You do not waste your time. So that's my experience as a night watchman. Those were good days. I was young and I was energetic. I think I wouldn't have so much energy nowadays. But again, 我就是老校长. So maybe it's okay to be older. I let the young people to do things like this. Actually, if you really want to know the reason why schools, of course, they are to protect against bad people doing bad things, but also they are to watch for fires. 烧火也是一个问题. So it's very important, and this is a way for them to 减轻他们的保险. 保险很贵啊. Well, we don't have any more time. Thanks for joining me for this section about night watching. We do have an email address. Our email address is theoldprinciple, 老校长 @gmail.com. And we do have a website. 我们的网站是 www.theoldprinciple.org. So, this is great. Thanks for joining us, and I hope that you will join us next time too.